Hello, Facebook friends, and welcome back to another episode of AUTOMOTIVATED. I am lucky enough to be here with David Saline from Drive. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here today.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had this queued up, and I know we have, this is actually a really exciting time for the Bolt-On Drive partnership because we have a few really great Facebook Live set up, webinars set up. So this is really kicking it all off.
Correct. This is one of the kickoffs. We're really focused on how can technology improve your production, your efficiency, and bottom line profits to your business if set up correctly.
Absolutely. I think we're going into this whole new energy coming out of COVID and really what shops can do to really become productive, efficient, and profitable at the end of the day. So, getting kicked off, a successful shop, a lot of people automatically start thinking about profitability, revenue, but a lot of that comes down to the productivity and how efficient their team is. So how would you describe how a shop should measure their productivity, in their shop?
It really comes down to just a basic thing. And one of the things is productivity in a shop will drive the profits. So when you're actually measuring it, what you really want to look to is what are the clocked hours, the actual physical hours that they're in the building working as a technician, and what are they billing out? What are they producing? And you get a production efficiency. But we always do talk to shops and caution them too, because a lot of times technicians are doing a lot of things that they're not getting billed for, such as sometimes inspections. There's some busy work that they get. So make sure you're crediting your techs for what they do too. But at the same time, you want to track and get as many billed hours out of them as you can each week.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really great point because your techs can be working hard in the shop, doing all of these things that are, essential to servicing vehicles and helping your customers, but to your point, they're not always billable, and that's really becomes a thorn for everyone when you're looking at the productivity of your shop and how that's affecting profitability.
Correct. And one of those things is, this is one of the things that we're really focused on between Bolt-On and Drive is how can you use technology to help really determine what is that busy work that's necessary during the day and what is actually the billed hours, and how do you actually increase those and get the technicians, as I would call a lot of times as shop owners, we will get in our ways of our technicians and we'll give them the work and busy work, or we may not even have a system or don't train them properly on the system. Therefore, it takes added time, or they have what we call idle time in the middle there, that they're not being productive. And so those are all things that shop owners need to really watch out for. What are the blocks from keeping my technicians from producing, and how can I increase their ability to produce more?
Absolutely. And bringing new technology into a shop, is really can really change standard operating procedures. So what do you recommend? How do shops really utilize technology to its fullest potential? What do they need to do from the moment they get a new technology to make sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck and then they're seeing results?
Well, one of the most common things we see is somebody will get the new technology, but they don't use it to its fullest potential. And a lot of times that's because they don't know, or they weren't fully trained, or they didn't explore to see exactly what that piece of technology could do for their shop. So, and I'll use DVIs as an example. They use certain parts of it because it makes sense to their operation or how they've been doing things in the past, but they didn't really study the full application and how they could apply it and advance the shop. So one of the recommendations we always do with our clients at Drive is, one, the owner themselves has got to spend a lot of time and really completely understand the software, what its capabilities are, make sure that it's linking up to anything that they have it linked up to properly. And then what we recommend is start with one of your employees in the shop. Train that one employee, make them a master of it. Make them the example. Don't just, what we see a lot of people do is, oh, I got the new technology. They have a team meeting for about an hour and say, here you go, figure it out.
Sure.
And then nobody actually uses it properly. So start with one person at a time, train that person up, make them a master, make sure they're using it 100% correctly. And then you start bringing on other employees. When you bring on the other employees, your master that already mastered the app is there to help them guide the other employees through it.
Absolutely. And I think, that brings up a great point, because ultimately it's going to be up to leadership and management to enforce this. So if you bring on that champion, that master who's really able to perform using that technology, and then encourage them to then properly train the staff, hold them accountable as well too, because to your point, with DVIs, we see this all the time with our customers. They're using some features, but if they use the entire technology tool set, then they're going to get a much better result, and they're going to be much more efficient in all of their processes. But if people aren't held accountable to those standards, then you have different levels of, service that's being performed and expectations per each person that's, in your bay.
Yeah, and another big point on it is getting agreements with your team. An agreement, when you implement a new piece of technology, yes, you got to show them how it benefits the shop, but you also got to go through and show them how it's going to make their job easier, how it's going to benefit the employee themselves. And once you get that agreement and they see the value in it, a lot of times they'll take a lot more initiative and learn more about it and start using it properly. But like I said, it's change. Change, when you're implementing technology, it's change in the business. And when you introduce change into a business, there's going to be that employee that says, I like it the way it is. I don't want to change, or I don't see the value in this. And that's your job as the owner, is to be the leader and show them the value and help them. And what we always recommend, have good team meetings about it. Let your employees voice back to you what their concerns are, or what their problems are with it, or where they're struggling with it. Because if you just keep telling them, go use it, and kind of come back, you got to do it, you got to do it, got to do it, but you don't get their agreement or that you get their viewpoints on it, it's hard to address those issues.
Absolutely. And, I think another really great point in all of this is, if you don't have buy-in from your shop, from the team at your shop, then it's very hard to get their commitment, to get their understanding, to get their motivation behind this. But I think the other thing that comes in that a lot of shop owners struggle with is how they balance their operations versus their training for new technology. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is a big piece on there. It's we at Drive recommend that you should be doing, training on an ongoing basis every week, either in a group style or individual, and the training should be paid for during company hours. I always tell everybody, think about it this right now. If you were an employee, you just got through working an 8-hour shift, and your boss told you go home and study this, the chances that you're going to do that are pretty slim. But if you took that extra half hour at the end of the day and said, okay, sit down and do the training on this, and I'm going to pay you to do the training, you're going to get more out of that training value there.
Sure.
And, we use this number all the time, but the average business loses $15,000 to $20,000 a year per untrained employee.
Wow.
And if you were to just pay them an hour of training per week, it would probably cost you about $1,500 a year. So if you think about it, that $1,500 worth of training that you're paying for while they're on the job is could be saving you $15,000 to $20,000 a year on your bottom line.
Absolutely. It's an investment, right? It's an investment into the tools that you have in your shop. It's an investment into the people that you have at your shop. And when they're all working together, that's just going to, have leaps and bounds worth for the success of your company.
Correct. And one more thing on this is, in today's market in the industry right now, I know there's so many shops out there struggling to find employees, but having up-to-date technology in the shop and training programs with your technicians and your employees, that's all part of retention and attracting new employees to your business. So it's a big factor, and it's something that we can't take lightly, because there's lots of opportunities for jobs out there right now, and you got to be on the top of the market and be that place that offers training. That's one of the number one things employees look for, is training. And they look for technology. They like to see technology in a business.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point, especially looking at, we know that there's been a lot of difficulties when it comes to bringing in new people into our industry, right? And having people with a certain skill set that, shops are looking for. So having that training, having that, really, it's the way I look at it is a growth mindset, right? So they're looking to stay on the cutting edge, not only for their team members, but also for their customers. And then making sure that there's proper training around it is really a value add to anybody that's in the job market at this point.
Correct. It's a value add for the job market, but you also got to look at it. There's another flip side to this. I'm going to flip it just a little bit. Technology and your customers right now. It's become a thing where everybody's invested in technology, whether you're a consumer or an employee or anything. And your customers actually embrace the technology a lot quicker than a lot of employees will in the business. But customers like ease. They like things to be simple. DVI helps do that, the proper SMS systems in your shop. But there's a lot of other communications that go along with that go with technology. And when those all come together, your customers see it, your employees see it, everybody benefits, and the shop actually gets to see higher productivity levels. We do a lot of analysis on productivity on shops across the nation on a daily basis. And you'd be surprised, but the average shop is only about 50 to 60% productive with their technicians. And
Wow.
when you think about them saying, "Oh, I need more help, I need more technicians," and well, let's start looking at the crew you have right now. How do we make them more productive? Because you could probably get a lot more work out. You could double the size of your shop just increasing your productivity.
Absolutely. And you know what? That, I think, is my favorite topic to discuss with this. It's the tech versus tech debate, right? Are you looking for a new technician to bring in to help scale your business? Or can you complement that with technology where you don't necessarily need the added hands? You just need to get more out of the team that you already have. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's where the owner has to be on top of everything. They have to know their KPIs. They have to know what their production efficiencies are. They have to know, they have to be watching their numbers. And when you dial in and start watching those numbers, you'll know if you need that other technician. Now, if you had 3 technicians in the shop and they're all 100% efficient and you're 2 weeks backlogged on work, yeah, you're probably ready for another technician.
It's time to get someone else in there.
But take this same scenario, you have 3 technicians and they're only about 60, 70% efficient. You're still 2 weeks backlogged on work. There's something in your system. There's something that's not working. And, that's where technology can come in. But the biggest thing is using the technology correctly. If you're using it correctly, you're going to see a gain in production efficiency.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, looking at how shops are really looking to scale their business, to your point, it's the shop owners really have to take a stand for leadership and becoming business owners. We know a lot of shop owners come into the business for a variety of reasons, whether, they were with a garage for a really long time and then just transitioned into the owner, or their love for automobiles just brought them to becoming a shop owner. But it's really looking critical at your business, measuring the KPIs like you had mentioned, seeing where the necessary resources your team needs in order to become productive and efficient. But what this does for the shop owner at the end of the day is really transformational as a business as a whole.
Correct. And, the big thing is that, as we say, drive, you need to be working on your business, not in your business. So if you're the owner and you're still under the hood of a car or still stuck at the service desk, it's going to be really hard to implement the proper training, the proper technology, and everything that you need in your shop for it to grow. You've got to, it's one of these, as I tell a lot of shop owners, you've got to learn to delegate the work within the business, and then you work on the big scale stuff. You work on the growth path. You work on the numbers, the KPIs, and implementing things that will actually improve the business.
Absolutely. Well, David, I think this has been a great topic. I know that this is just the start, so I want to leave you a little bit of room to let us know what we have going on coming up with the Bolt-On and Drive partnership.
Yes, so here in the near future, we're going to have a Bolt-On member onto the Drive Facebook Live, and that'll be published out there, and we'll get you that all set up. And then the other one that we will be doing is on August 5th. I know it's noon Pacific time. we will be doing a 90-minute webinar, and it's a joint webinar between Bolt-On and Drive. And we're going to talk about this technology, how to implement it, how to actually train your team properly to use it. But on top of that, we're going to really look onto how can you advance your shop and make higher profits and be able to manage it with ease. So this is going to be a very powerful webinar, lots of information in it, and we look forward to everybody showing up and joining us for that.
Absolutely. We're excited to attend. I know we just added the link for anybody who wants to register. It's now in the comments below. But David, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I think it's been, what, nearly 6-7 months. I think it was the end of last year when we last talked. So grateful to have you back on AUTOMOTIVATED. It's always a pleasure talking with you and the team over at Drive.
Well, thank you for having us here today, and we look forward to our future events together. And like I said, it's great working with Bolt-On. And look, we share a common interest. We want to help the shop owner succeed. So that's one of the great things about how we work together, is that we're all interested in seeing each shop owner succeed and have a very profitable shop. So that's what we're all geared toward.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in for another episode of AUTOMOTIVATED. As always, please let us know what you're doing at your shop. We want to hear how you're incorporating technology into your shop and what that's done to transform it. So drop us a comment. Let us know what you're most interested in us talking about next. But until next time, it's been a pleasure. David, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.